Welcome to this webinar on the Iowa Statewide Assessment System Accessibility Manual. This webinar highlights some of the information found in the Accessibility Manual that is used starting during the 2018-2019 school year. Accessibility supports discussed in this manual include both embedded and non-embedded universal features that are available to all students as they access instructional or assessment content, embedded and non-embedded designated features that are available for those students for whom the need has been identified by an informed educator or team of educators, and embedded and non-embedded accommodations that are generally available for students for whom there is a documentation on an individualized education program or 504 accommodation plan. This manual emphasizes an individualized approach to the implementation of accessibility practices for those students who have diverse needs in the classroom. It recognizes the critical connection between accessibility supports in instruction and accessibility supports during assessment, as well as the need to think about accessibility from the start of the educational process. The manual applies to all students who use accessibility features, supports, and accommodations for instruction and assessment. This manual presents a three-tiered accessibility framework of universal features, designated supports, and accommodations, with an understanding that in the future, test vendors may add a fourth tier of administrative considerations. It should be noted that the same accessibility support may be considered universal in one system and a designated support or an accommodation in another system, depending on what construct is the focus of instruction or of an assessment. Additionally, some accessibility supports allowable on content assessments may be prohibited on ELP or alternate assessments, or vice versa. This manual also includes considerations for students who participate in alternate assessments to assist educators in the process of including this population of students in meaningful educational practices. These new individualized approaches to accessibility place greater responsibility on educator teams and individuals who make decisions about which students need and should receive specific supports among a variety of accessibility choices. Even those features that are universally available for all students may need to be turned off for some students if they have proven to be distracting in instruction or on assessments. Educators should also ensure that students have ample opportunity to practice using accessibility supports or accessing assessment content without certain supports if they are only available in instruction. Universal features are accessibility supports that are either embedded and provided through the online assessment platform or non-embedded and provided non-digitally at the local level. Universal features are available to all students as they access instructional or assessment content. Designated supports are those features that are available for use by any student for whom the need has been indicated by an educator or team of educators, including the parents and guardians and the student, if appropriate, who are familiar with the student's characteristics and needs. Embedded designated supports are provided digitally through instructional or assessment technology, while non-embedded designated supports are provided locally. Designated supports must be assigned to a student in advance of the testing window. Accommodations are changes in procedures or materials that ensure equitable access to instruction and assessment content and generate valid assessment results for students who need them. Embedded accommodations are provided digitally through instructional or assessment technology, while non-embedded accommodations are provided locally. Accommodations are available for students for whom there is a documented need on an IEP or 504 accommodation plan, as well as for students who are currently identified as English learners. The decision-making process that is outlined in the manual consists of 5 steps. Step 1 is to expect all students to achieve grade level standards. Step 2, learn about the accessibility supports for statewide assessments. Step 3, identify accessibility supports for statewide assessments. Step 4, administer the accessibility supports during statewide assessments. And step 5, to evaluate the use of the accessibility supports in the statewide assessments. For more detail on each of these 5 steps, please refer back to the manual. The manual includes several tools used to support teachers and districts in determining accessibility supports for students. I will go over just a few of the tools that are available in the back of the manual. Tool 1 is the accessibility frameworks of the assessment consortia, including ISASP, ALPA 21, and DLM. Tool 3 includes embedded and non-embedded universal features that are available to all students. Tool 4 includes embedded as well as non-embedded designated supports that are available to students who have that need identified in advance of the testing window. Tool 5 includes embedded and non-embedded accommodations that are available to students with an IEP, 504 plan, or are English learners. Tool 6 is an example of a personal needs profile planning tool. It includes sections on universal features, designated supports, as well as accommodations. Tool 9 is the do's and don'ts when selecting accessibility supports. Tool 14 goes over the accessibility supports used in the classroom and determining how they are used for assessments. Tools 19 through 22 include the read aloud, scribe, translation, and human signer guidelines. Please see the text security manual for the forms that need to be signed prior to implementation of the assessments for those that read aloud, scribe, translate, or are a human signer. Tool 25 is the unique accommodation request application. Please make sure to read more about that specific tool in the back of the manual. This concludes the webinar on the Iowa Statewide Assessment System Accessibility Manual. Thank you very much.